Good morning, St. Louis at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. So y'all know what time it is. It's time for the St. Louis Hustle Podcast with your boy CORTEZ Hustle, my girl Michelle A. And today we're talking about paranoia. I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Get your hand in my pocket.
It's going down, ladies and gentlemen. Do you ever experience paranoia? No, we're talking seriously about that. It is the beginning of Mental Health Awareness Month. And we know that this is something that people struggle with. Oftentimes they go undiagnosed, and it could cause problems in relationships, problems in the home, problems on the workplace. We're going to talk all about that today. So I need you to do me a huge favor. Comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand and smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen. And let's kick it this morning.
Growing up in St. Louis has never been easy, and most say if you want to succeed here, that you must leave and put down roots somewhere else because of the strong crabs in a barrel mentality here.
I don't know if I'm just an optimistic person, but to see people like Chuck Berry and Nelly make it in the music industry, or the Roberts brothers and Dave Stewart in business, or William Lacey Clay Jr. in politics, can we blame the city, or is it that people just aren't hungry enough?
We're talking to all of the movers and shakers in this town, from entertainers to politicians, social activists and organizers, and of course, entrepreneurs.
Is there a curse on this city that holds people back? Is there an unseen hand that decides who makes it and who doesn't? You're about to find out.
Welcome to St. Louis Hustle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Louis Hustle Podcast. I'm your boy CORTEZ Hustle. That's my girl Michelle A. And we are coming to you live and direct from the STL Hot Deal Studios right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Listen, if you love St. Louis like we do, and you understand that there is power in shopping local, then I need you to text the word deals to 314-730-3999. You're going to get on our list so we can send you some of the hottest deals, buy one get one free offers, 50% off deals to your favorite local St. Louis establishment. So I'm super excited to bring that to you guys. Again, text deals to 314-730-3999. I'm going to bring you some hot deals every single week. LA.
What's man, the weekend was cool, was interesting. You know, every time I come across foolishness, I feel the need to share. Okay. And so here's why your girl might just stay off the market for a while. You ain't gonna hear me talk about Mr. Wonderful, Mr. 6 foot nothing. I'm gonna stay off the radar for a while because these Negroes is crazy. There it is. I said it. And not even like from a mental standpoint. Sorry, Lord. They crazy, just attitude crazy. There's a difference. So I encountered here's what it is. These young men. Now, I don't know what they put in the Similac or in the milk in the 80s, but y'all stop it, because these Negroes born in the 80s is crazy. Let me quit using that word. I'm sorry, y'all. I need to be sensitive. Anyway, so I encountered this young man. I was out minding my own business and encountered this young man. And, you know, I'm friendly. I talk to everybody and everything was fine. We met, probably like Friday night. He invited me back out Sunday night. So I was like, okay, hey, come have a libation with me. Okay, I'll go for one. And I was at a familiar place. So I went, met him. And during the course of conversation, he felt the need to give me his demo. And part of the demo was that he's gang affiliated. He sells drugs. Well, not drugs. He sells marijuana, which to me is still kind of like a drug. I said, this is your demo. This is the best. You do it. I did tell you my age, sugar. He was 40. I'm 50. So he said drugs.
Wait a minute.
This is the demo. 40.
Not the demo.
Kick it out the demo. And the demo
of Julia.
Right. Man, you heard me. He might as well have done that. Seriously. I was just like, this your resume and this the best you got. I'm still gang affiliated. I sell marijuana. Wait, this is the good one. No, people gonna get offended. I said this last year again. Don't get offended at me. Send your stuff to that dude over there. Him. There it is. Send your stuff to him. I cut grass for a living. Nothing wrong with landscaping. There's a difference between landscaping and cutting grass. This nigga cut grass. Excuse me. This Negro cut grass. He don't landscape. He just cut grass. And so
he's a gang banging, weed selling landscaper, and he puts all of that on the track.
All that was what he rolled out to impress me. Let me tell you about myself, Baba. You know what I'm saying? Because you know I got stuff going on too. Oh, I'm trying to be optimistic. Oh, you hit me with that. Then the piece de la resistance. Yeah, they just shot at me last week. What? Mom, you don't get away from me. I don't. That's look, memo to self. Excuse me, people. Let me knock on the camera. That ain't how you get a female. Tell them that you got shot at the week before. That ain't what you do. I ain't hit nobody with the face in a while. That's not what you do. Not what you do. Now you wonder why I'm not taking these calls. I don't know why you won't talk to me. What did I do? He go, then what I did, you know, we parted ways. I was like, Lord, this one is bad. When you talking to somebody, you start pleading the blood of Jesus while you in conversation. I plead the blood of Jesus. Lord, if you just get me out of I wasn't even about to take off no clothes. And I was like, Lord, if you get me out of this.
Just get me out of this, I promise.
I said, no more young grass cutting, gang banging, weed selling, pistol toting.
Out of this conversation.
Man, it was a conversation and I just wanted to be free. Child, so that was that part of the week. I was you want me to call you back, sugar? You told me you got shot at. So I said, can you come and pick me up? I don't know. You got me confused with your mama, sugar. You might want to call your mama.
Wait a minute. He's a grass cutting, gang affiliated, marijuana distribution representative that raps, and he's got transportation challenges?
Transportation challenge. What? Wait, he's uncarred.
He's uncarred, yes.
He's uncarred.
Yes.
He's unvehicled.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a whole lot going on there. But here it is. I will say this. Here's my growth. The Michelle of 15, 20 years ago would have, I'm going to give him a chance. He is nice and he is showing attention. The devil is a lie. I don't need that kind of attention. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Over here in this space.
There you go. And I think it's got to be okay for women and men to be like, I just ain't feeling this vibe. And there it is. It's like, no.
And ain't nothing wrong with me for saying it.
Now, it'd be different if you were feeling that vibe, man. You're like, man, this dude ain't what I want from a guy, but for some reason I feel a connection. I think that's okay too, right? But sometimes, yeah, you can't play. E40 said, could I save her or him? Right?
Okay, man.
You can't become Kappa Saver, but I do understand when there are actual feelings, there's a connection for some reason. That can be a little bit more challenging to say, I'm just gonna walk away. But if you ain't checked none of the boxes,
you ain't checked no boxes,
you ain't got no butterflies fluttering in your gut,
none.
Move on.
And you short. No, I'm playing. And now there's nothing wrong with short. I've liked short guys in my life. Even though he was short, I could put him on my hip, walk across Kings Highway with him. Like, I could go to the chick ass place. I could do that with him, but bless his heart.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. Yeah. What about you? You're good. What's your weekend?
I don't think I did anything this weekend, Michelle. See, think about being an entrepreneur and going hard. All of your days run together. So
been one long day.
It's been one long day since the last time we talked.
Right.
So I don't know what happened on
I believe that with you.
Saturday.
I believe it. I believe that with you. I believe it.
I don't know what
I
happened.
believe it.
Over the weekend, of course, I do the sound at my church. So good sermon on first Sunday of the month, and I always do that on Sundays, and didn't do anything much outside of that, man, but really kick my feet up.
Good. You deserve it.
You're
the hardest working brother in entrepreneurship, I promise you.
I'm telling you, I slept so hard on Sunday. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, like
took a granddaddy nap.
Ooh, it's like, man, that I slept so hard it hurt a little bit. When I woke up, it's like, wait,
You woke up so I've been fighting.
so what the heck?
Yeah, been there.
But yeah, that's what it is. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about paranoia. Do you have any issues when it comes to paranoia? Right, we're going to break down what that actually means, separate that from the difference between paranoia and schizophrenic and all those kinds of things. But I know you cannot have children be a parent or be in charge of any little people that you love and not have some degree of paranoia. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too, because some people might say, I ain't paranoid enough when it comes to kids. But before we get into any of that, y'all know what time it is. It's time for the Michelle A word of the day. Michelle's got a great word for us, and we're going to let her Aussie boyfriend introduce this segment. So let's get to it.
And now the Michelle A word of the day.
Hey, what's up, party people? It's your girl Michelle A, coming at you again with another fabulous edition of the Michelle A word of the day. It's a good one today, y'all. I want to talk about counterfeits, right? You might know where I'm going with this, but I want to talk about counterfeits. Things that seem like they're real, but they're really, really not, right? Had an interesting conversation with a really good friend of mine, and we were talking about dating and love and how things go. And she experienced a little bit of heartbreak. And she said, you know what, Shell? He checked all the boxes, almost all the boxes, or it seemed like he checked all the boxes. And she said, I really thought that he was it. But at the end, he turned out not to be. You know, he turned out to be counterfeit. And so that's the thing about counterfeit. If you think about money, when you really look at a counterfeit bill up against a real bill, it seems like a real bill. You can have a counterfeit $100 bill. It looks like it. It may feel like it, but something's a little bit off, right? Sometimes, I ain't gonna say sometimes, all the time, when you're dealing with, I say anything in life, look at things like you're examining for counterfeit money, right? When you take a $100 bill to the store, they got that little special pen to make the mark on. They looking for the mark. Look for the mark on that person. Do they really have all that they're supposed to have? And if all else fails, hold on to your seats. If all else fails, what else did we do with counterfeit bills? We take a counterfeit bill and we hold it up to the light. One more time. That was good. I know it was. Take a counterfeit bill, hold it up to the light. If it can stand up against the light. You know, we're looking for something on the inside when we hold it up against the light. When you measure it up against the light, it either has what it has or it doesn't. We're looking for that strip down the middle of the bill. And if it's not there, you got a counterfeit. Again, counterfeits, they look like the real thing, feel like the real thing, but they come so close to being the truth that they're not. So again, examine people, and when all else fails, hold your bill up to the light. And if it can measure up against the light, then you're good. If it can't, let that thing go. That's pretty much all I got for you today. It's been your A word of the day. Boom.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Michelle A word of the day brought to you by the Social Media Consistency Challenge. All you got to do is text Daily Hustle to 314-730-3999. If you want a lesson on being consistent on social, text Daily Hustle to 314-730-3999. And every day for 21 days, you're going to get an infographic to post on social media. You're going to get the captions and the hashtags too. And you're going to get a video training on how to become a social media marketer. Text Daily Hustle to 314-730-3999. So Michelle, what you are saying is the brother from the weekend was not counterfeit. He just let you know exactly who he was.
Right, he was Monopoly money. He was Monopoly money, okay? That bro, he was pink and blue and yellow. I'm like, this is not real money. You can look at that one and tell. Wasn't nothing to hold. I didn't even need that. I said, Lord, I didn't go bother you on this one. I got this one. There was no need to hold that joker up because you could look at him and tell that he was not real. Not real at all.
The guy. He was not
the guy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we want to talk a little bit about paranoia. So, Michelle, you want to give everybody the official definition of paranoia, and then we're going to talk about how to identify it, whether or not you're just nervous or you got some serious issues going on, because paranoia is actually a thing that you might need to talk to somebody about.
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's the official definition. Now, just to specify, and I think you mentioned this earlier, Cortez, this I'm going to give the general definition of paranoia. Now, this is not to be confused with paranoid schizophrenic. That is a medically diagnosed disorder. This is this could be a prelude, but this is not the same thing. So I just want to prerequisite with that. All righty. So what does paranoia mean? Paranoia is defined as intense, irrational, persistent instinct or thought process of fearful feelings and thoughts. It doesn't always mean, or it's not always associated, that there's an underlying health condition, mental health condition. Doesn't always mean that you're on your way to having a mental illness, but those feelings are still described as paranoia.
Yeah. And I think we are so challenged when it comes to being comfortable with the idea of talking to a mental health therapist. Yeah. You see how we even have to say that if we're talking paranoia, no, this doesn't mean you need to go talk to somebody. Like, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's not bad.
It's like if someone, and I'll use women as an example, you start feeling and cleaning yourself and you feel a lump, right? What's the first thing you think? You know what? I need to go and have somebody look at this.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't, when we're feeling anxiety, when we're feeling paranoid, when we're feeling what you say could be the prelude to something more serious, mental, we don't immediately think, I'm feeling anxious today and I don't even know why. You know what? Let me go talk to somebody. Because of the stigma associated with talking to a mental professional, that is usually the last person we want to go. We often go see someone about our mental health well after the mental and psychological trauma has caused us to act out in such a way that we've caused harm to someone.
We're already
like cancer is, we already lost 100 pounds to cancer, and now we want to go see a doctor when we felt the lump 10 years ago. That's how mental health is treated. Like, we feel something just a little bit emotionally off, mentally off, but we don't, because we don't want that stigma attached to us going to see someone, we'll literally let it eat us up inside until there's almost nothing left. And then after a blow up, after we have caused harm to someone, after we have almost died mentally and emotionally, now we say, you know what? Okay, I will go talk to somebody about this. And we got to change that whole stigma and that whole narrative.
Oh, absolutely. Just going back to the example you gave with the lump, there is the stigma that's there, and we feel a lump, and sometimes we don't want to know. I think understanding the difference. I think because there are certain, and we're going to get into this, but there are certain emotional triggers that cause feelings of paranoia where you still need to go talk to somebody. You still need to go talk to someone. And I think that there's just a little bit of a segue, between, because there is a lateral, for the lack of a better term, there is a lateral move or positioning between the emotions that come with being paranoid, which can cause emotions that can cause paranoia versus the mental. Because I may not be hearing voices, I may not be seeing, because sometimes I've heard that people that have the paranoid schizophrenic, sometimes they see people that aren't there, and they hear people that aren't there. I may not be at an extreme like that, but I am still living my life encaged with some things going on. We're going to dive into some of the underlying things that may kind of sometimes trigger those emotions. And as Cortez said, in all the situations, talking to someone, my pastor's doing a series now. Shout out to Influence Church. Hey y'all. One of my church members was like, hey, I was checking out podcasts and stumbled upon you. Right on. Right on. Right on. I always forget the girl name, and I'll be like, girl, what's your name? I just start calling her, hey girl, she's awesome. But anywho, but so we're doing a series called Under the Big Top, right? And we're diving into the anxiety and depression. So some of those things can be triggers, you know, for paranoia. I'll just dive right in here. Some of the underlying drivers of paranoia. The first one could be intense fear. This, I think, is a really big one. This may have been as a result of living with a traumatic experience. Maybe you witnessed something. Maybe someone has threatened you or your family. And being so overwhelmed with fear can cause you to constantly worry about a potential harm. That, I think, is big. I had a relative that went through a traumatic event, and it triggered some things for her. I've gone through some traumatic events. I think we all have to some extent, and it can trigger like, what if that happens again? Well, I don't want to fall. I don't want to fall into that situation again. So I'm going to do all these things to prevent it. Right. When we don't even know if it's really going to happen again or not. But we have all of these blockades in a way to try to stop something that happened, but in our mind is very real to happen again, when in reality may not. So. Yeah.
And then at the same time, you know, growing up in some of the environments that a lot of Black people are growing up in, this is, and I think this is one of my challenges. Like I get paranoid sometimes, but then sometimes I don't get paranoid enough, according to my wife. But sometimes when you grow up in environments where by the time you're 9, 10, 11 years old, you've seen your first dead body, you have been encountered with the police on several occasions, you've seen people get beat up and all kinds of stuff. You can also become desensitized to some things that really, really should cause you to become paranoid, right? I know now that some of the things that I would experience in growing up in Wellston and in the inner city, and I would see like it was just normal stuff, but then getting away from that environment, I know when I go back down in those environments now, it's a difference. I feel different. I'm like, wait a minute, this used to be an everyday normal thing, but when you don't see it every day, and then you come back into that same situation, you're like, why am I feeling like this? This is how I grew up. But that just goes to show that I had been desensitized to some of the violence and some of the things that really are not normal. Folks, this ain't normal. And then when you get away from it for a while and you get blessed enough to move out to the suburbs, and now going back it's like, wow, I never saw this environment as threatening when I was coming up. But now I realize all of the potential threats. I'm like, man, this is insane. But when you don't have that, when you're desensitized to it, sometimes you don't feel that paranoia, right? So another one is your living situation, right? Living on your own and being isolated is another thing that could cause you to feel somewhat paranoid. Being by yourself. Like if you're not used to that, then of course, sounds in the night make a difference, right? It's like, wait a minute, what was that?
Someone bumped.
Well, what was that? And don't tell me the house settling because I live in an apartment.
You heard me? I heard something go bump, 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 and it wasn't B2K. You heard me? Come on. No.
Right. So not only living on your own, but sometimes, again, this is going back to some of the things that you might need to talk to a professional about before it escalates or before you deteriorate, right? Why do I feel a way whenever I'm by myself, right? I remember there was a time in my life, Michelle, because of my childhood trauma, sexually abused, physically abused, and neglect, the three major childhood traumas that I experienced. As a result of that, growing up, I never wanted to be alone, right?
Yeah.
Never. Like, I always wanted someone to spend the night with us. I always wanted someone to be around. I was that kid. Everybody else is, all right, man, we're going in the house. Like, no, man, just hang out for another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes, man. And I was just always trying to be, keep people around me because I didn't want to deal with my own thoughts. And even as I became, you know, a little bit more independent, 17, 18 years old, I remember I couldn't get into the car unless the music was playing. I couldn't come into the house unless the TV was on blaring because I needed some kind of distractions around me all the time. But after going to get the help that I needed, now the most peaceful place on this planet for me is inside my own head. I literally drive for hours with no music on. I literally, well, because I'm a cheapskate, don't want the TV on if ain't nobody watching it. Like, turn that dog on TV off. Ain't nobody even in there. Right. But I'm so comfortable in the recesses of my own mind and my own thoughts because I have addressed and stood up to some of the underlying fears and that resulted from some of the childhood traumas. But feeling isolated is not just living by yourself, but I know people to this day, I know they're experiencing the same thing that I experienced. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to be by yourself. You don't want to be
It's
alone.
a thing.
Yeah, you rocking that music loud like that. It ain't got nothing to do with you liking that song like that.
Come
it got
on.
more to do with you drowning out your own
The silence. That's it.
The creator is trying to get your attention and you don't want to hear that. Right? Because that was another thing that I was running from my calling. My cousin Velma would say all the time, "You preaching here, boy?" Like, no,
okay. Okay.
I ain't preaching. You preaching yet? You're supposed to be using your voice. And she would say that all the time when I was a young man and like 18, 19, 20 years old. Hey, I don't, you preaching yet? Every time she see me, to this day, if she see me, you preaching yet, boy? Like, so learning how to recognize early signs and then going to talk to someone before things escalate, I think just makes so much sense.
Man, absolutely. I ditto everything you just said. You preaching yet, boy? Now I'm gonna start asking you. I'm gonna just start sending random messages. You preaching yet? Because if you've been a fan of the show or a friend of the show, you know this one, that one over there. He preaching. He be coming out the gate sometime with stuff, and I love it because it's so random, and it'd be like, nah. So anyway, problematic substance abuse research. One more time. I used the word last night. I'm sorry. Sidebar. Pen in there. I was on a Zoom meeting last night for my job, and it was like, I hate it when they share press in. And you know me, I talk for a living. I love talking, but man, for some reason, I don't know why I got so anxious, and I could not get the word productive out, and I think the word came out productively. I said, well, I was trying to say, let us have a productive session. And I said, let us have a productable. I said productable. That's what I said. I said, Lord, why couldn't the word after the meeting? I was like, productive. Can we get back on productive? Whole other thing, but
wait a minute. I need to press out. Well, thank you for allowing us to have a productive meeting.
At the end of the meeting, that was the last word uttered before everybody logged off Zoom. Productive. I was too late. Okay, it's too late. Yeah, my mind just went there because I couldn't get it together. Okay, problematic substance abuse. Research would show that substance use can cause suspicion and fear, which then increases the risk of living with paranoia on a regular basis. Sometimes smoking weed, they said it nice. I'm gonna just go and rip the band-aid off. Sometimes, I ain't saying all the time. Sometimes smoking weed can induce that feeling. Y'all heard my edible story. I'm done with edibles because when I say I was seeing pink bunny rabbits and I was seeing ink splotches, that was a level in my people like, oh, you go to your other conscious mind. I don't want to go in there. Keep that door closed. I don't know what's in there. I don't want to go in there. I don't need to be that woke. If Jesus didn't wake me to that, I don't need no kind of medication or no kind of enhancements to wake me up. I don't need it.
Yeah, I know for me, I started drinking at 15. The first time I got drunk, the sophomore in high school. I think that same year was the first time I smoked a joint and got high for the first time. And I know for me, I was trying to bury the pain and the person.
Yeah.
Like I tried really, really hard to convince the world that I really was who I was pretending to be. Right. And drinking and smoking was part of that, me pretending to be somebody else because I didn't want to be the CORTEZ that God created. Right.
Absolutely.
And I remember my wife always asked me, why do y'all talk about the difference between drinking and smoking? I'm like, well, you know, most times people who are smoking marijuana and get behind the wheel, they're not going to do anything more harmful than stopping at a blinking yellow light and sitting there for minutes. Like I approached a blinking yellow light, Michelle.
Okay.
I stopped. And I was sitting there waiting for it to turn red.
I've done that. I don't tell nobody, but I've done that.
Like, wait, what? Wait, I slowed down and people behind me like, why are you slowing down? It's a blinking yellow light. And
I've had it happen.
Slow down, wait for it to turn red. Right? I've been at blinking red lights forever. Like, no, ain't nobody.
That one gets me. Stop signs and blinking red lights. And you just, back when I used to be down like that, you be sitting there like,
oh man, it's like taking forever.
Right.
No,
it's you.
It's really not. It's you.
It's not the light, it's you.
Low self-worth, where you have no belief in yourself and suspect that others think and feel the same way about you, is challenging, right? When you don't think of yourself that you can bring anything to the table. This leads me down two paths, right? When you don't feel confident in what you're bringing to the table, but also some people use this as a reason to stay average, right? An excuse to stay average.
That's it.
Like everybody's out to get me. And no, it's not. We're just expecting you to bring your best self to the table. So if someone has something critical to say or a suggestion about how you can do something better, then people use, and I don't want to say people use, I see that comes up. Oh, they just don't like me. Oh, they always got something to say about everything that I do. And it's like, well, you can't be challenged ever in your life. Can't nobody ever say anything about anything that you bring to the table. And you yourself admit it. Well, hey, this ain't perfect, y'all. This ain't the end. This ain't the finished product. But I want to just share it with you. So I think low self-worth is a huge one. And again, it's okay to talk to somebody about that. Right? Like,
no harm.
You feel like you are worth less, it's okay to talk to somebody about that, because chances are there's a reason that you feel that way that could be addressed and can transform your entire life. And it ain't everybody around you. It ain't everybody down on you. It ain't everybody that's got nitpicking everything you do. No, there's a reason that you feel inadequate. Let's figure out why you feel inadequate.
Absolutely.
Because clearly you're not, but you feel that way. So because you feel that way, let's figure out why, so that we can make some adjustments and prescribe some tips and strategies that will cause you to start seeing yourself the same way that mostly everybody around you sees you. So you can start seeing yourself as adequate.
Absolutely, man. Diagnosis. Now this is a slippery slope. It's a little tricky here. The diagnosis of a mental health disorder can sometimes drive paranoia. You've gone, let's say you've taken a step, you've gone to talk to somebody. You know, you might have got hit with a diagnosis. I know that happened to someone I know that's close to me. They were diagnosed with a couple different things, and it drove her paranoia. She started being really hyper conscious of these disorders, and it made her act out even worse because she was paranoid about what she had been told. So, you know, that's something that can be a driver as well. It's the slippery slope. I know that we also wanted to kind of dive into 7 ways to identify. Now, those are drivers. Those are things that drive paranoia. There's a couple different things, because I know we want to talk about some what can we do to help either, you know, yourself or other people in our lives that might be paranoid as well. So I'll just hit a couple of these. Maybe I'll do the first was that 7 of them? Maybe I'll do the first 4. Cortez, maybe you do the last 3, and then we can get into the what to do. All right, so 7 ways to identify paranoia. They depend on the cause or the driver, but generally, a person is paranoid if they are easily offended, if they find it difficult to trust others, if they can't cope with any criticism, and if they assign harmful meanings to other people's remarks. You know, sometimes somebody says, hey, you know what? They make a remark about your outfit. You just hate the way I look. You just hate me. I think you hit it a little bit ago. You just don't like me. You don't like my shoes. So you just don't like me overall. That could be something, you know, that could kind of be a telltale. You know, those are some of the signs that you might need to go talk to somebody.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to the early signs, like they say, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And
absolutely
addressing these things early on, right? They're always on the defensive, right? That's huge, right? They may be hostile, aggressive, and argumentative, right? I know people like that. You can't. My favorite saying is, got a problem for every solution, and will fight you tooth and nail.
Right. Okay.
Listen, I'm just trying to help, right? Might not be able to compromise. These are all signs of paranoia, and most of these behaviors have underlying causes that a trained professional could probably point out. And at this stage, for the most part, from what I understand about my own journey and seeing other people go through some of their own journeys, at this early stage in the game, it is easier to address. And some of the fixes may be very, very simple, right? Again, it is before you allow it to progress. It's like, hey, you got full-blown stage 4 cancer, or you are type 2 diabetic on the verge of losing a leg. But 20 years ago, when you realize you first start having these feelings, man, we could have told you to take soda out of your diet and you wouldn't be like, these are some of the things that when we remove the stigma of mental health, and I think removing the stigma and more people going to see mental health professionals will also drive the price down, because that's also one of our favorite excuses. I can't afford to go see no doggone therapist, right? Because, you know, as that profession goes, you just can't go see them one time. It's like, no, we need to see you 12 weeks for the next 12 weeks at $150 per visit for the next 12 weeks. So, but when you have situations like this, it's like, hey, I'm feeling a little anxious. Okay, well, you're feeling a little anxious. Let's get down to the bottom of that, and let's try some different activities before it progresses into a full-fledged mental condition that could ultimately take you down the path of needing medication, long-term stays in facilities, and all of those kinds of things. But this is kind of the beginning of noticing, hey, I feel uneasy emotionally regularly. I think that becomes a sign that, you know what, I'm probably uneasy emotionally regularly. Not once a month, not once every 6 months, not I get in the funk every year. It's like every other day, something is setting me off. That's uneasy emotionally, regularly. You might need to talk to somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just feeling explosive. So, goodness gracious. So, we kind of hit you a little bit with a little doom and gloom. But we want you to be informed, to be able to kind of know, you know, maybe it's you. Maybe you don't know nobody, but you're like, hey, maybe I be feeling uneasy emotionally, regularly. Or you can make a little thing that make a track to that. But maybe it's you. You know, maybe you know someone that you're like, man, they are always kind of on edge. You know, how can I help my people get it together?
And this one too, Michelle. If everybody is always telling you that you are uneasy emotionally all the time,
walk like a duck.
Like you don't keep getting accused of the same thing all the time, and it from everybody, and it not be true, right? It's like, nah. If one person says, "Hey, man, you got a stank attitude," that could just be one person. But if everybody in your life is talking about your stank attitude,
people close to you,
right? Exploding on everybody, and you're easy to talk to. We got to walk on eggshells around you. Those are telltale signs that
absolutely
you should talk to somebody.
Walk like a duck, quack like a duck. I ain't saying it's a duck, but you might want to look behind you, see if it's a tape.
You might not be a duck, but there's some duck-ish behavior going on.
Right, there's some duck-like qualities to you that you may want to investigate. That's all we're saying. All right, so what can you do to help? Right, what can you do when you notice these things? In a loved one? Here's just a couple things that we can kind of run through and talk about. Number one, consider their beliefs might be justified. Now we've all talked to that conspiracy theorist that I'm sorry, what's this finger? Sorry. But we've all talked to that person that said, you know, they tapping in. You go on your cell phone, they really listening in to you. You know, Alexa, it's the government. It's government, Alexa, and they really, I mean, here's the thing, just side note, I really believe that, yes, they Alexa and some of those other things they build, I think it is, underlying there's a way for if the government wanted to do it, but I think it was more about how to make money and exploit Americans or people in general. We pick up what you're saying, or you tell Alexa to do this. That's another way for us to sell, get in your head and exploit those things that you search. You just search for a therapist online. So now let me just pop all of this stuff up everywhere, you know, in your timeline and your thing. And so I don't necessarily, that could drive your paranoia right there, but consider that the belief.
These doggone shoes is following me. Everybody look, these doggone shoes keep popping up. What the?
Are they on your feet? Are they on your feet at the time? Ask questions because it could be justified. It's easy to dismiss thoughts as paranoid if you don't agree with them or they don't match your experience. It's even easier if your loved one has experienced other paranoid thoughts or delusions in the past. But it's important to try to check that you're not making assumptions. Hear them out and see if it's justified.
Yeah, and that's like, I think sometimes these things will show up over time as patterns. And so you can't be dismissive, try to be understanding, and really just try to listen. But then if you see a pattern of behavior, then it could be more serious. Consider if there is a basis for their beliefs, right? Even if you feel that the thoughts aren't justified, it's worth remembering that many paranoid thoughts will have developed from anxieties about real situations. Try to explore whether there is basis for their fear. This can help both of you understand how the thoughts have developed. This is huge. It's huge because sometimes we will not empathize with people. And as strong as the mind is, it is equally as sensitive. Right. So as someone who had been sexually molested as a kid, I would attract people to me who've gone through those journeys. And I would hate to hear, I heard one girl when we was at Woodlands, Michelle, and I don't even know how the conversation got going, but she ultimately in the conversation said, "It happened to me, just get over it and move on." And I'm like, you can't tell someone who's gone through such a traumatic event to just get over it. And I used to say that too, but my intention was not to get over. My intention, and I started changing my language to deal with it. Right? You don't get over it. You actually have to deal with it. Whether that means confronting your perpetrator, whether that means you just going to seek help on your own, whether that means you get into some self-care for yourself, you have to find a way to deal with and address that trauma head on. But to be as insensitive to say, hey, yeah, you got robbed at gunpoint, now you think everybody shouldn't have guns. Well, that's a real thing for someone who has been robbed at gunpoint. It's like, yeah, I don't want to see a gun for the rest of my life, right? So being sensitive to the experiences that a person may have had that have led them to the way that they believe when it comes to certain things that could be causing and triggering that paranoia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was such a big one. Triggers. Man, oh man. If we take enough time to get inside our own head to figure out what our triggers are, that's the beginning point. Again, talking to somebody, many therapists and counselors will lead you down that road. What are your triggers? Knowing your triggers can help you combat what's going on. You know, don't dismiss their fear.
Wait a minute. Because not only will knowing your triggers help you combat what you're going through, it'll also help you identify and classify your friends and loved ones, right? Because watch this. When you know your triggers and you're around certain people that activate those triggers all the time, they also know your triggers.
Yeah, it's called pushing buttons.
And you might not want to be around those people because why would, if I know you're suffering from a little paranoia, why would I want to push you down that path?
Right.
There's no way that I can be a real friend. There's no way that I can really love you if every time I'm in your presence, I'm trying to trigger you, whether it's just to get a laugh, because I know you're going to say something that's off the wall and we're going to have a good chuckle. If you are around people who are triggering you all the time, then that's a sign that those people might not care for you too much. But if you don't know your triggers yourself, then you can't see who's trying to activate those triggers all the time. But know those triggers and then start paying attention to who's actively, every time you're around, they're going after those things and trying to bring up certain things that they know is going to get a reaction out of you.
The chuckle for me. It's the chuckle for me. Okay. I try to move on from that because sometimes when you just see people, CORTEZ is a very respected individual in his industry and what he does. So when he has those moments, boy, they just take me under. They take me under. They take me under. Okay. Don't dismiss their fears. Even if you, I just read that. No, did I? No, okay. Okay, don't dismiss the fears. Even if you don't agree that they are under threat or at risk, try to understand how they're feeling. It's important to recognize that their feelings are very real, even if you feel the beliefs they are even if you feel like their fears or beliefs are unbased or unfounded. So don't dismiss them. I've done that in the past to people that and I admit it wasn't the best thing to do when you know someone is challenged and suffering through a situation. You just kind of, well, okay. Well, no, that's not really what it is. No,
Right.
it's something else. I've done that. I've done that. And that's not the right thing to do. You don't want a
Right.
baby in a minute. That's one of our other ones coming up. You don't want to wrap up in that thing with them, but you don't want to dismiss them and make them feel like, something's just going on.
Right.
So,
Right. But this one is also very tricky, Michelle, because you can't patronize them either, because then that becomes a trigger, right? Because I remember when I was going through my journey, right? I went through, so for those of you who do not know, I was molested as a kid, and I didn't tell anybody until I was about 22 years old. About 2 months, I don't even know if it was full 2 months after I told my parents and we started dealing with it, that I lost my baby brother. So now I'm trying to deal with this trauma, and now I'm going through grief, right?
Wow.
And from 1996 till about 2000, I had slowly start to disintegrate. I was slowly starting to implode, right? So it took a while, but I remember, like, I would have these off the wall thoughts, and then if someone agreed with them, oh no, you just you just saying that to try to shut me up, and then that becomes a whole nother fight, right? And it's so you gotta be careful, and if you are going down that path, just be sincere and authentic. And if there is not anything that you want to contribute to the conversation, sometimes just being present and listening is enough, right? Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes if we're going through a period of emotional instability, we don't need your commentary. Sometimes
keep that to yourself.
Sometimes just listen to all the craziness that's coming out. And for me, like, I thank God, I literally, when I walked out of the hospital for the last time, I haven't had to take any medication. I haven't been back since. And this month will be 21 years clean and sober. I was a huge pothead. I smoked about a quarter ounce of weed every day, and if I didn't have weed, then I would drink to get a buzz. So 21 years this month. You know, I haven't had any of those challenges, and that was one of the biggest concerns, because when I did come out, they did prescribe me some medicine. And if you know anybody who's going through anything and they are prescribed medicine, and I don't know what it was that I was on, but I know I was zoned out for 12 hours at a time. And I was like, there's no way. At the time, I had 4 sons. My wife was pregnant with number 5. And I was like, there's no way I can be a productive citizen on this medication. So I quit the medication cold turkey. And and really allowed, and this is huge for anybody who's going through anything like this, I allowed myself to be engulfed in the love of my family.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I was literally trying to push it away all of my life, because on the inside, deep down inside, I'm mad at everybody for allowing that to happen to me as a kid, and where were you, and all of this kind of stuff. I literally had to allow myself to be engulfed in the love. I remember my sister-in-law, when I got out of the hospital, had a cake for me for my birthday and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, this, like, really, I had to let that happen and realize that, oh man, there's some people in my life that really do love and care for me. So just be careful when sometimes you got a thought about what someone is thinking, and you might be on that path that, hey, they not thinking quite right. Sometimes you can trigger and make situations even worse with your commentary.
Sometimes the best advice is no advice. Close it.
Because
mute it.
Listen, I can't remember where I got this from, but I use this all the time.
Oh Lord. My phone is like shutting down right now.
Unsolicited advice is always seen as criticism. Unsolicited advice is criticism. I don't care. Let's see if we can get Michelle back on. She said her phone is shutting down. If you ever give someone advice that they do not ask for, I don't care how much love you give with it, it is always seen as criticism. So I try to always ask permission to share my thoughts with someone on a particular situation, or I wait for them to ask me, what do I think? Right? You start just spewing out stuff and you're not asked for your opinion, it's criticism. I don't care how much love that uh, you mix in it, how much sugar you give with that medicine, it is considered criticism, period. So you got to be careful about that. Focus on their feelings. Uh, Focus on the level of distress they are feeling and offer comfort. It's possible to recognize their alarm and acknowledge their feelings without agreeing with the reason they feel that way, right? That's a huge one. It's like, I don't agree with why you feel that way, but I understand how you feel and why you feel that way. But here's what I found, right? If you have that kind of permission to share your thoughts, hey, I know how you feel. At one point, I felt the same way, but here's what I found. When I start doing more research, when I start having more conversations, when I started to reflect, I found that, hey, my thoughts about this particular thing changed, or whatever the case may be. And I think we got one more. Respect their wishes, right? This is huge. We're talking about paranoia. And sometimes how you recognize the signs and the emotions of someone who is paranoid, how do you help them through that? Sometimes you have to respect their wishes. Even if you feel that you know what's best, it's important to respect their wishes and don't try to take over or make decisions without them. It's important because we all want to feel felt. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. A large reason why you do some of the things that you do is because you want to feel felt. Period. End of story. People want to feel felt. And when you're dismissive, especially when someone who is going through uh, the beginning stages of like, if someone is always paranoid, then chances are they're at the beginning stages of uh, could be a depression, could be a mental collapse, could be anxiety, and all of those kinds of things. And how you handle that as someone who loves that person could have a lot to do with how that person responds and reacts to the events going on in their lives. And I know that we all want our loved ones to get help. We all, especially if we feel that it is something serious, will your response to how they are responding to these challenges will have a lot to do with whether or not that person actually gets the help that they need, right? So, yeah, Mark, going through the storms of life, and it is so true what they say. Everybody, and this is why we got to really talk to each other more, be more compassionate and empathetic with each other more, because everyone, I don't care who you are, is either just getting out of a storm, headed towards a storm, or currently in a storm in their life right now. Everybody. You're either in a storm, just came out of a storm, or headed towards a storm. So to have more empathy, to know that everybody is dealing with something, right? That level of being able to communicate with someone with that in mind allows us to be more empathetic. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. So next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about another mental health topic. Got to bring awareness to, and hopefully we're helping to erase the stigma of going to talk to someone professionally about your emotional state, whether you feel good, because one of my favorite sayings is you don't have to be broken to get better, right? You don't have to be broke broke in to get better, right? Sometimes we think that I got to wait until my body breaks down and go see a doctor. No, I can go see a doctor as healthy as I am. And they can say, you know what? You can be even healthier if you do this, 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 and this. The same is true with mental and emotional well-being. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Until I talk to you guys next time, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you.